Because my hands are still out.
Good, how are you doing?
I saw Mr. Paul.
I see you ghost me.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like-
pretty,
It's like my teenage daughter.
Pretty impressive chart to me here.
Chart for.
Timeline.
Oh,
Took me a while to figure it out.
months across the top.
Oh, no, I agree.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, 5:30, all right. Adam, get the fire department update, roll on this one.
Yep, so the first item on the agenda is the just fire department update. Everybody here is very familiar that we're in a several years long now, I guess, negotiation with the city of Lone Lake about what we do about fire service. And so this was just an opportunity to provide just an update on various aspects of that. And I think the mayor's going to give a quick update on the negotiation portion of it. Before we get to that, I just wanted to, I added in the packet just for, to have a visual reference, the two different timelines, because there's really two different scenarios that we've kind of been operating under. One was if we had to start the fire department from scratch, and the other if, probably the preferred one, which is if we took over control of the existing Long Lake Fire Department. And the reason we show those two in there is because really the starting from scratch, it has the critical path, as we would say in project planning, in that if we have to go down that route, the procurement of equipment, some with lead times of up to 2 years, drives that. Hence, and what that's really driving is a decision point this summer as to which one we're going to go down. If we are forced to go down a from scratch, and we need to know that by the middle of this summer so that we can do the analysis and then begin any procurement processes we would need to do. And if we do the other one, transition control from Long Lake, then we have some more lead times and some more buffers. We potentially can even do that before our hard deadline, which is the 1st of January of 2026, which time our contract with Long Lake. So that's kind of the broad timeline, and that's the reason I went to that. There's big ticket items on there, kind of showing all the major muscle movements we have to make between now and running out. And then the only other thing is I kind of at the end I have in there as the third attachment is my first draft at a request for proposals from a fire consultant, and so I was looking for any feedback you might have on that. I know the mayor is going to do some review on that before we send that out and start trying to get some consultants to give us proposals.
Yeah, no, that's a kind of a general update, and we are, lately we've had some good conversations with Long Lake. They have decided to ask for some additional information, which we've given them. And that's the equipment issues, of which we've kind of solved already. And we've asked them to go and, we gave them the appraisal, so they did that. So now we've been working on it. It looks like they've gotten their own. And the last email I got from an update is the first meeting that they've got in May. They kind of alternate their work sessions. And this next one in May is going to be looking to go to the fire department and coming up with some answers and conclusions, because we've been waiting for them to get the appraisal. What kind of decisions they're going to make. So we're really just waiting on that right now. We had another round of substantive discussions of kind of moving this forward. And so that's really not a whole lot until we get that meeting
Is
done.
there a meeting next week? Is that what it is?
I think it was the first one in May.
This was our first meeting in May, I think, is what.
Because this next one that they've got was scheduled for something else. And so, in fact, I don't think they have work sessions every time, so they all make a meeting, so the next one is in May. So we're just gonna get a few more weeks to wait until that kind of gets organized, and then we will be, we'll get some answers from them.
So you're
That'd
looking,
be good, but I think in the consult, that I think would be great, because that'll give us a third person to kind of get feedback from versus just us thinking we want something that we're not experts, on top of the fire department, which, you know, they may have no desires or wants, but I think having a third leg of arm's length of what do you really need. And so then if anybody comes to us later down the road and they say, well, why'd you go this direction? We can say, well, it wasn't because the fire department said they needed it or wanted it, or us trying to make our own separate decision. It would be a consensus with everybody together, doing all the homework correctly and saying, yeah, this is what you really need based upon a consultant and information, which is, I think, the way we want to make our best decisions anyway, so. So it's a story to be told still, but I think the first part is getting the consultant on board, because we're gonna need that anyways, to start evaluating the public works facility, if we gotta go down there, and just somebody to just do a really good comprehensive review of our city, what do we really need, what do the other cities have, how do we work together in tandem, you know, when we have box fires and all that kind of stuff, where everybody comes in and helps each other, what everybody needs, because not everybody needs a 50-foot ladder truck, right? You may only need 2 in all 8 cities, because they will come and help, because they're all called to do it. Richard knows that, so.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it will, that'll help sort us out with kind of an arm's length person at the same time.
so you're looking for feedback on this at some point?
Yeah, if there is any, I'll take it individually on that RFP. If not, then, you know, we'll send it out and start trying to see if we can get proposals in.
No, it's good. But that's one I'll take a look at that.
And then the other bit in there, paragraph 5 just talks, I just tried to provide a summary of the staff supporting things that we've done, and the staff work to support them for so far. And most recently, did initiate coordination with the state fire marshal's office. Administrative ducks in a row is what we have to actually be recognized as a fire department, either course of action. And then also trying to get from them who are the consultants that they've seen doing this kind of work in our general area. So they can't give you a recommendation, just like we can't with that, but they were able to give me a list of all the players that they knew that were out there. So.
Which is good, which is nice to have some kind of going to the league and having lists of stuff that they've got to do.
Are you thinking, so the schedule that you have under 5, does that pull in some of the threads from your Gantt charts? Like, obviously, you've got, I understand that you've got to have everything fully operational by December of 2025, but you probably have to have people on board sooner. I'm assuming that's all kind of baked in.
That's kind of what's baked into the charts here is, you know, I kind of tried to divide it by
Got it.
personnel, equipment, facilities, and different things that we would have to address, and then.
Change based on as we're kind of moving forward, but at least this gives us a good, and I think Adam's done a great job of putting a good timeline together to work with, and understand how it's kind of playing out for sure. Good. All right. Internet discussion, this is the ongoing. internet
Sorry, and I
discussion.
brought it up again.
So,
And yeah, does it put my name on it?
So
Okay.
Councilman Internet Committee?
Yeah, we don't. We said if we need one, but.
So Councilmember Steele brought this one up. So I did a little bit of just research on it, either in our historical records or Google searching what's available out there. Particularly, I understood the question to be what a summary of a broadband internet availability within our city. And so under chapter 2 there, or paragraph 2, I listed some of the bigger players. There are a bunch of little players, it seems, that are out there, but the bigger players that provide some sort of internet service in our community. So Mediacom via cable, CenturyLink, which is a telephone provider, has some DSL, Verizon has some wireless, stationary wireless opportunities, and some fiber. Frontier has DSL in certain parts of our community, and then there's some up-and-comers. I mentioned Lakeside Networks because I know they just put some fiber in on Big Island, on the residential part of Big Island, and they seem to be specializing in what's called fixed wireless, where they're shooting it wireless and then distributing further on fiber or some other kind of cable type system. And I know Victoria had asked, for us to talk as a group, is there a problem? And then I added in there, if there is a problem, what's the governmental role in that problem or that solution? And then any potential avenues that we might explore. So that is open discussion. Oh, sorry, the other thing you'd asked me to look into is Minnetrista. So Minnetrista did get a grant. It was in the paper a couple,
I think this is why this topic came up against consumer.
maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So what they did is they have actually some unserved areas of their community, being more rural than we are, and so they were able to apply for and secure a grant to get some money. So I think they have a several $million project with an internet provider. I think it's out of the Dakotas, and then they were able to get a grant for I think a couple $100,000 to help seed that project. To go out and go into some of those underserved areas in their community.
What was that in the Dakotas?
The company that they're partnering with.
It's like a wireless deal again.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a combination, if I remember right, a combination with where they shoot some wireless and then drop down.
Distribute it.
Well, if they do a great job, then
Yeah.
they can introduce themselves to us.
So there do seem to be some smaller players in the business, and I'm certainly not a broadband or internet guru. This is all just running on the internet or on Google. But there do seem to be some of these smaller players that are starting to pop up. Folks like this Lakeside Networks organization, which is out of Spring Park, that are finding some niches, and we as part of our public works facility, been trying to work out solutions for getting connectivity to that building, and then dealing with there's also a group of smaller broadband and fiber companies that focus more on commercial as opposed to residential service. So they're out there, they take a little effort to find.
Okay. Well, I think where this came from is people saw it, the Minnetrista article, right, for its interest. And then I think a lot of our residents, including myself, have MediaCom, and I have no problem saying they're awful. They're really expensive and they're awful. Like, you don't get phone calls back. They sometimes come to their service calls. It's really far out. So I don't know what the role of government is. It just seems like it's kind of.
And they're part of Extreme then,
Are they part of Extreme?
right? Aren't they part of Extreme?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So they're now Extreme.
Also.
Yeah, so, yes, Extreme didn't really help them, but, yeah. So I don't know what our role is. It keeps coming up, and I was like, well, yeah, no, that resonates with me, because I don't love them either.
Well, I know the role in the past, a few years ago, when we tried to get together with, well, actually, we did get together with CenturyLink, because they had put in the fiber in Dennis Libby's neighborhood, which is the Foxville neighborhood, and everybody pitched in $3,000 or whatever to get a fiber line and then to be attached and all that kind of stuff to it. But we had set up a meeting saying, well, maybe we could put in our budget that every year we could build up, let's say, $75 grand a year, let's go find neighborhoods and start laying fiber. We'll just start putting in money every year to do a little bit, find the areas that would make the most sense to start doing it, and we never got them to give us a phone call back since.
Oh, wow.
But that at least was the conversation, and they seem to have some interest in that, but I don't know if you don't have the right people, and they're moving around to different divisions all the time, and you lose the person, and then there's different people, and they don't call you back, so who knows, but I have no problem saying that there's areas that we really have nothing that we can put in our budget to at least help lay some infrastructure, because the citizens would have to then pay for connections and all that kind of stuff too, connection fees. But at least we'd be doing some part to help that out. So how that would work with some of these other ones, if they'd be interested, I have no idea, because we just don't have enough population out here. What's the good thing? We're normal, right? We have all this,
We have
open
lots of
space
land.
problems, which creates a problem with internet and that kind of stuff. So is there a way we can help that out? And I don't know if any of these, after having the constant fails of trying to get hold of people, knowing there's no money out here for them to make, if they're interested, so.
The other thing is on MediaCom, they do have a franchise agreement with us. And it's part of, that's what pays our cable fund, which is what pays for
Well, I would exchange
audiovisual
that for
in this
better
room.
service to our residents, how about that?
And looking at historically, for the first few years after we entered into that franchise agreement, we did get a number of complaints similar to that, which then we forwarded to their government customer service rep, and then it seems like we would get an answer back from that, but I didn't find records of really doing much of that in the last few years, or at least not even reached out that I'm aware of with those kind of
Yeah.
issues. And do we, I guess,
Just think we have to
monitor the
keep
front desk
reaching
while
out and seeing if it's willing to come to
cable
this
car,
marketplace.
broadband calls.
And say, if nothing else, if we can just reach out to some of these people, especially some of the new ones, and just say, do you have any interest in doing any kind of partnering with us in areas that
Yeah.
are underserved?
Even if they want to come to a work, if they be willing to come to a work session and have a discussion,
Or they can start the discussion out.
Yeah.
If they have interest, then we at least can get some feedback as a starting conversation. Kind of like reaching out for the garbage haulers. It looks like we had a couple, or one that's putting in for a garbage license. So we have one already that's putting in for a garbage license, so.
that's good.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the quietness of complaints as them, people not being happy. I feel like I've looked and the options are pretty limited, so you're like, this is pretty much what I'm stuck with. So that's what I'm stuck with. So I don't think, I think it'd be hard pressed if you actually reached out and asked them, do you love MediaCom? Do you feel like that's a good situation? I think you'd get lots of, oh gosh, it's really expensive,
I don't think it's really to reach out to them, it's really reaching out to the providers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so I do
Especially
think
the
that
new
needs
ones,
there.
like I've never heard of Lakeside.
Neither have I.
Or the other one seems like, MediaCom's never called, and Century Link has never called us back.
Well, and maybe
Verizon has
just,
never talked to
you
me.
know, even that company that Minnetrista works with, like,
Out of the Dakotas.
the Dakotas, it's just giving people options, right?
What was the name of that company?
I don't have it written down, I know it's.
Just right, so like, cause right now you're kind of stuck, like I was looking at a T-Mobile hotspot, maybe that would be better. I didn't love it when I had a T-Mobile Razor phone, and it's dated myself, but, yeah, thanks. It's not very good, to be honest.
Well, you'd think in the last couple of years, with so many people working at home, these small businesses are popping up because there's a need.
Yeah. So maybe the need is.
Time will,
And
time will also.
technology changes, so if there's new technologies that make it easier, until we reach out, I guess, to find out, especially the new ones, like the Lakeside. Why you
Never-
are.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, right.
There's things that you can do for us that
And all the other ones that we
Yeah.
just haven't heard of that are
Yeah.
trying to do something.
They were faster and cheaper, you would have.
Hey,
That's right, that's part of the issue.
Mhm. Thank you.
We're trying.
So maybe just reach out to a couple and just get some feedback and just see what they say, because I mean, it might be the old, there's no money out here to build, there's not enough infrastructure to get anything out.
We can certainly ask the question, especially maybe some of these smaller guys.
Especially if we help lay some infrastructure and put in money to help, the areas that are not quite getting good stuff, that would help out, so who knows?
I remember,
If that even makes a difference, and it may not even make a difference.
I don't know how many years ago it was, but Lauren used to be hammering on internet providers and fiber and things like that, and that was 5-10 years ago.
Talk about clean slate, Lauren.
We haven't heard that name.
St. Lauren.
All right, anything else?
That's all we had.
All right, awesome.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.